Let's talk about that nagging feeling. You know the one I'm talking about. That low-grade hum of anxiety from all the things you've started but haven't quite finished. It's the mental weight of all your unfinished business. I mean, it could be a half-written email, maybe a report that's like 90% done, or heck, even just a browser tab you opened hours ago meaning to read it later. These aren't just minor annoyances. Nope, your brain treats these open loops as a top priority, and it's constantly pulling at your attention whether you want it to or not. And today, we're going to find out exactly why.
Now, this feeling has a name you've probably heard thrown around, the Zeigarnik effect. It's a total classic in pop psychology. The story goes that way back in the 1920s, a psychologist named Bluma Zeigarnik noticed that waiters could remember these super complex unpaid orders perfectly, but would forget all the details the second the bill was settled. This led to her famous theory: our brains are just hardwired to remember unfinished tasks more vividly than finished ones. It sounds right, doesn't it? It feels true. But what if I told you that's not the whole story? Actually, it might not even be the real story. To really understand what's going on inside our heads, we need to look at not one, but two psychological effects. They were born at almost the exact same time, but man, they had very different fates.
So it all kicks off in 1927 with Zeigarnik's famous study on memory. But just 1 year later, her colleague, Maria Ovsiankina, investigated something that sounds similar but is subtly different. She didn't care about whether we remember interrupted tasks, but whether we feel this compulsive urge to go back and finish them. Now, for nearly a century, Zeigarnik's effect got all the fame, while Ovsiankina's was mostly forgotten. That is, until a huge, landmark meta-analysis set for publication in 2025 decided to re-examine all the evidence.
And you have to see, this distinction is absolutely crucial. The Zeigarnik effect is all about cognition. It's a trick of your memory. The Ovsiankina effect, on the other hand, is about motivation. It's a behavioral urge. So one says, I can't forget this, while the other says, I must finish this. And that small difference, well, it turns out to be everything.
Okay, and this is where the story takes a really fascinating turn. After almost 100 years of being cited in textbooks, in productivity blogs, everywhere, modern science decided to take a much closer look.
So here's the big question, right? Do these famous effects actually hold up? When you combine and analyze all the studies ever done on this, what does the data really reveal?
Well, check this out, because this is the first bombshell. In her original 1927 study, Zeigarnik found that people recalled unfinished tasks 1.9 times better than finished ones. I mean, that's a huge effect. But the 2025 meta-analysis, pulling all the data from dozens of studies, found a recall ratio of, wait for it, 0.99. That means we remember unfinished and finished tasks almost exactly the same. There's basically no memory advantage at all.
So let's just be really clear about what this means. The central claim of the Zeigarnik effect, the very thing everyone thinks they know, it just doesn't replicate. The meta-analysis even says it lacks universal validity. The memory trick, it seems, might just be a ghost.
But what about its forgotten cousin, the Ovsiankina effect? And here's the twist. While the memory effect appears to be a myth, the urge to finish things is incredibly real and scientifically solid. Ovsiankina found that about 91% of people would just spontaneously go back to an interrupted task when they got the chance. And the modern meta-analysis, it found a powerful and consistent resumption rate of 86%. That's a real, measurable human behavior.
So you've got to be asking, right? If the evidence is so weak, how in the world did the Zeigarnik effect become one of the most famous ideas in all of psychology? Well, the answer takes us back in time.
The researchers behind the new meta-analysis suggest that Zeigarnik's original results were probably a product of their very unique historical context. You have to picture the scene in the 1920s. A university professor was a figure of immense authority. Seriously, one report from that era noted that, and I'm quoting here, "Professors are not human beings, they are gods." So participants felt this profound sense of duty to perform perfectly. That high-pressure, super-achievement-oriented atmosphere, it just doesn't exist today. And that might have been the secret ingredient that made her effect appear so strong back then.
So let's fast forward. How does this century-old finding apply to us today? Well, it turns out that this real, powerful urge to finish tasks, the Ovsiankina effect, is shaping our modern world in ways we barely even notice. Get ready for this. According to research by Professor Gloria Mark, this is the average amount of time an office worker spends on a single task before they either switch to something else or get interrupted. Just over 3 minutes. And this is the average time it takes to get back to that original task and fully get your focus back after an interruption. So every time you switch tasks, you're not just losing a few seconds, you're losing over 20 minutes of deep focus. It's wild.
So you see, the real problem isn't that we remember that unfinished email. It's the constant, low-grade mental tension it creates, that psychological itch that tells us a loop is still open. We are living in a storm of interruptions, creating dozens of these open loops every single day, and each one is quietly draining our cognitive resources. This is the Ovesiankano effect running rampant in our digital lives.
But here's the thing. This powerful urge isn't just a weakness, it's also a tool. And it's being used by designers and marketers to guide our behavior every day. And I promise you, once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Just think about the progress bar on your LinkedIn profile. When it tells you your profile is only 70% complete, it's not just giving you information, it's creating an open loop. It's weaponizing the Ovesiankino effect to create a mental tension that motivates you to add that extra skill or job description just to make the bar hit 100%. Duolingo, Notion, Slack, they all use this exact trick to keep you engaged and moving forward.
And this internal drive for completion runs way deeper than just user experience design. The psychoanalyst Karen Horney described a similar force she called the tyranny of the shoulds, that relentless inner voice telling us all the things we should be, should do, and should finish. This constant pressure to close the gap between our actual self and this idealized, completed self, it can be a powerful motivator for sure, but also a source of massive anxiety.
So, when you boil it all down, it comes to this. That feeling of being haunted by unfinished tasks isn't really about your memory. It's about a deep, powerful, and scientifically proven urge to find closure. You can harness that urge to push through difficult projects, or you can let it become a source of constant, distracting tension. So the real question to leave you with is, how is this force operating in your life? Is it a tool that you control, or is it a tyranny that controls you?